So I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Village of Krause governing body, October 22nd, 2024. I'm Jim Fahey, Mayor. Please turn your phones off or put them on vibrate if you would, please, so it doesn't disturb anything being discussed in the meeting. And once you've done that, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Councilor Miera.
Aki.
Councilor Woolman.
Here.
Councilor Knight.
Here.
Councilor Alsobrook.
I am present.
Is Zach signed in yet?
I don't.
Councilor Murray.
Here.
All right. So supposedly Zach is going to sign in on Zoom. He didn't go back to Japan, did he? Do you know? Okay.
No, he's at a truck stop in Santa Rosa.
Oh, that's even better. Has everybody a chance to look through the agenda? Could I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we have any opposed? Okay. We're going to move on to presentations. We'll ask Mrs. Chris Allen, the Chair of the Comprehensive Plan Committee, to give us an update on the comprehensive plan. The administration hasn't seen this update, so this is going to all be hopefully new information for us, or close to new information.
It should be, so
Break it.
probably. Okay, there we go. Mayor, members of the council, members of the administration, and the public, good evening. I am Chris Allen, Chair of the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee. And I'm here this evening to give you an update on where we are. As you know, a year ago, we started in May of 2023, and we conducted a number of interviews and meetings throughout the summer, over 50 of them with individuals and groups. We conducted a survey village-wide. We then spent last winter assembling and analyzing this data, and we came up with 6 values of importance to the village. And we developed some goals drafted from those values to support those values. We presented them earlier this summer at the gym, and we had some nice attendance. People came in and looked at what we had done, and we got a lot of positive feedback, which was very nice. But people asked the question, okay, values are great, goals are great. How do we get there? So we have spent this past summer developing action items that support the goals, that support those values. So I am here tonight to, if I can find it, present you with a draft of the comprehensive plan, which I will hand to Melanie and ask her to put up on the website. I would also ask that we have some printed copies made for the library, the senior center, and the administration offices for people to come in and take a look. On Sunday at the new gym from 1 to 4, and I know it's short notice, but we were under a little pressure to get this out. On Sunday from 1 to 4 at the new gym, Sarah Gerhardt, another member of the committee right here, has done an executive summary PowerPoint, which we will present at the gym. We will be there from 1 to 4 on Sunday. We'll answer any questions people have, and that will launch a 30-day comment period on Sunday. We will open a 30-day comment period. We encourage everybody in the village to get a copy of the plan, whether from the web or paper copy. Take a look at it. Give us your comments over the next 30 days. We will have an email address. Do you know what it is offhand? Comp plan.
I think it's compplan@gmail.com, but it'll be on the website.
It'll be on the website. Okay. So we encourage everybody to give us your feedback. This is a 30-day period. Tell us what you think. All right. So let me give this to Melanie right now. Oh, can't spun yard.
Thank you.
So to give you a little summary of what we have, I will reiterate what we developed as a vision for Corrales. Our vision for the village of Corrales is to be a vibrant and sustainable community that honors its rich farming and cultural heritage, that fosters a strong sense of belonging among residents and visitors alike, and balances economic prosperity with environmental stewardship. We strive to maintain a welcoming and inclusive village that values diversity, embraces creativity, celebrates creativity, and promotes a high quality of life for all who call Corrales home. With a commitment to innovation, collaboration, mutual respect, and responsible growth, we envision a future where Corrales is a model of community-driven progress, where our unique character and natural beauty are preserved for generations to come. So now I will stand for questions.
Councilor
Yes.
Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. Chris, when do you expect then to finally have a draft to us for approval? After the
For
30?
approval, after the 30-day period, we will assess the input that we've received from the community, tweak as necessary, and then we will hand it to you.
Okay, so I think, Mayor, if I'm not correct, we have only 2 meetings, one in November and one in December. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so that kind of narrows the scope a little bit. I mean, but
Probably pushes it to the beginning of 2025, because I should mention that at any point during that 30-day period, if the council and the Planning and Zoning Commission wishes to schedule a work study session with us where we will answer questions in a more intimate setting, we'd be happy to do that. So if you'd like to schedule that, that would be fine.
Councilor Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. Hey, Chris, thanks for the presentation. How are you going to get information out about the Sunday meeting?
Yeah, well, I hope the mayor's message is about the only way we can do it. It does not have to be the only public meeting we will have. We certainly will have a public meeting at the end of the 30-day comment period, and we're happy to schedule any additional meetings if there is sufficient interest. So we're not only meeting on Sunday. This is just to launch the plan. And, again, I know it's short notice, but we were receiving some pressure to get this out. So,
Okay, thank you.
sure.
Councilor Woolman.
Thanks, Mayor. Chris, first of all, we have a flashing sign that is very effective for trash
Yes.
pickup twice a year.
Yes, yes.
No comparisons, apples and oranges, but I just wanted to mention that as a possibility.
Okay, thank you.
Last time you were here, you were asked whether or not you had read the Arts and Cultural District Plan,
Yes.
the possibility. One of the things I was interested in, there's a lot of people here tonight who are going to be addressing that
Yes.
plan tonight.
Yes.
First of all, have you a chance to read it? And second of all, do you see any conflicts with what you've done thus far without public comment, understandably, but thus far that the comprehensive plan would be in conflict with that report?
Right. I was aware of the agenda item later on in the evening, and as I drove over here, I thought it's really unfortunate that our committee was not tasked to read the ACD and compare it to the comp plan. We were not given that task, so therefore the committee has not engaged in that process, and therefore I cannot speak for the committee. Okay, so however, what I can do is tell you that there are some aspects of our plan that may assist you. Okay, probably one of the most major things we're going to recommend in our plan is that we change the designation of the commercial area to a mixed-use residential commercial. This is to formally recognize that this area of the village, this stretch of Corrales Road, historically and contemporarily have a coexistence of residential and business enterprises. Bravo. So the vision, for me personally, the vision is something not urban, but I'll give you some examples. Greenwich Village in New York, Latin Quarter in Paris, French Quarter in New Orleans, okay? Not to that commercial extent, only to point out that these are areas where it's as valuable to live there as it is to have a business there. And that, I think, is what people want to see in the village of Corrales along Corrales Road, a mixed-use residential commercial area. Now, the challenge is to, and this will be your job as legislators, to be creative about how to control what happens in that area so that you balance the needs of the residents who live there and the businesses who operate there. And if you think of any community across this country, the most vibrant communities are a mix of business and residential. The business opportunities allow people not only to have a business in the village, and many of our businesses are locally owned, but also to afford employment, to offer employment to people, and to give our local residents places to go for goods and services without having to leave the village. So it's important. It's also important, as we know, for revenue. Although we are a very wealthy community, the state legislature has never allowed us to have a share of the income tax. If we could do that, we'd be golden, right? But I tried in 1990 when I was on the council and it failed. And since it hasn't happened yet, I suspect anybody else who's tried has failed as well. So we are dependent upon gross receipts tax and to a smaller extent, property tax. So we need that vibrancy. We need that economic vitality in order to survive as a community. But there are ways that we can create an area here on Corrales Road where we can accommodate the needs of both. A simple example would be something like the noise ordinance, and I'm just coming this sort of off the top of my head. If you had a noise ordinance that restricted businesses to amplified music, for example, to 9 or 10 o'clock at night, but then allowed them to have acoustical music in a more intimate setting after that. That might be something you could do. But think creatively of how you can accommodate both needs in this area, because it is what is going on here. It is people living here. It is people running businesses. And we have to make that successful for everybody. Anything else?
Anyone else? Councilor Meara?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that everything that you've done here with regards to putting this packet together, and that question, just specifically that question, really well phrased, about, was that an integral part of the answers that you received that led you to come to that conclusion for this particular, the one we're having just right now, the discussion about having a thriving business and a residential center actively cooperating and moving forward?
Yes, we met with the business community, and they certainly are interested in working with the village to develop ordinances that will allow them to be successful. But they also recognize the needs of the residents who live in that area. Likewise, we had residents in that area come up and very strongly express their concern that businesses would overwhelm them. So it's important to maintain proper scale and proper controls. And one thing I might also add is one of the issues that people often raise are traffic and parking. And from the data that we receive from COG, which is derived from cell phone data, most of the traffic is us. We are a community of 9,000 people with only a few ways to get in and out. So a lot of this is our traffic, our parking. I just live a few streets away, but I drove to get here tonight. I didn't bicycle, I didn't ride my horse, I didn't walk. I got in a car and I drove here and I had to park here. And I suspect probably everybody else did too. So a lot of the traffic on the roads and a lot of the parking is taken up by us. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for that answer. I looking forward to it. I bet you now, because of what you just stated, there's going to be more of that interest to look as specifically in the line by line item, what you're putting forward to us. And I could only tell you that personally, I couldn't agree with you more. As a former legislator, I represented the downtown area of Albuquerque for 24 years. And I say that only to say this is because as we try to develop downtown, every downtown in United States has this problem of, we're gonna have a downtown, but we wanna have a vibrant downtown or whatever that might be. But I only seen, historically, the ones that really made it and do a good job and continue to do a good job is those that have a really, really vibrant residential area that surrounds it, because you cannot have a good vibrant area downtown, any downtown. It's the area that surrounds it that makes up the middle of the district, or it's on the sides and the people are in the middle, which either way, but you've got to have both. You
Yeah,
cannot
have
have one way over the other one. So thank you for that.
And historically, that's who we are. And we value three things. We value agriculture, art, and history. And those are all represented in some fashion on this stretch of Corrales Road. So, anything else?
Thank you very much, Chris.
I hope I answered the questions you need. And please enjoy reading the plan. Thank you.
So now we'll hear from Dr. Angelo Gonzalez, CNM Chief of Staff, regarding the proposed 2024 general obligation bonds for CNM.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. My name is Angelo Gonzalez, and I'm here representing our president, Tracy Hartzler, who is traveling and couldn't be here tonight. I'll take just a few minutes tonight. We've got some handouts that have been given to you, and I'm going to refer to this as I talk. I don't think we need the slides. So voting has started already. So what I'm here tonight to talk about is one of the general obligation bonds, Bond 3 for higher education, just to share a bit more about how this bond will benefit both our state as well as the work that we do at CNM. So let me start off by just saying this bond actually would not raise taxes. So that's point number one. Second point is, if we look statewide, this bond actually impacts a number of counties throughout the state, and the total funding is close to $230 million. And you'll see on the inside of your trifold, there's a list of all the projects statewide that the bond benefits. Here in our local community, this bond will help both CNM and UNM. And on the CNM side, there's two projects that I want to talk about. So a total of $16 million would be devoted to CNM. $10 million of the bond would go toward the expansion of our Center for Technical Innovation and Entrepreneurial Development. You have a little insert here that describes what that work is. The main thing to point out here is this really would allow for an expansion of several of our key programs, including Fuse Makerspace. If you've ever been out to Fuse, it is one of the premier facilities at CNM that allows for fabrication, woodworking, metalworking, jewelry making, all sorts of cool fabrication activities. Fuse right now is located in a leased building, and we're hoping to move this onto the CNM main campus so that we have a permanent home for this facility that we can connect to our other related programs in the skilled trades and other areas. Additionally, the $10 million will support increases in our deep dive technology boot camps, artificial intelligence and blockchain, and then a growing area around quantum science and quantum technician boot camps, as well as our entrepreneurial development programs. The second big chunk of funding for CNM under this bond is $6 million. And this actually is spread out across every campus. And there's two purposes. The first is really emergency alert improvements at every campus. So all of the campuses from main campus to Montoya to Rio Rancho to Westside, everywhere, will get emergency alert improvements, and then various code compliance improvements at select campuses based on their specific needs. So last thing I want to say is two more things, actually. This bond is estimated to create approximately 2,300 jobs statewide. These are mostly construction jobs. And then finally, I just want to end with a thank you. You all in this community have been extraordinarily supportive of CNM, time and time again have showed up to support bonds for CNM and other efforts. And we just greatly appreciate the partnership. And I want to just express on behalf of President Hartzler, our thanks to all of you, and especially to the public here in Corrales for that support. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, happy to stand for any questions if there are any.
Councilor Woolman?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good to see you again, Doctor. Just two quick questions. Your quantum science lab, UNM and Sandia are a major effort in that area. Are you going to be a part of that, or is this a separate
Yeah, we're working pretty collaboratively with Sandia on this. I'm not sure about, I'm sure we're working with UNM as well. The gentleman that is really leading this work is his name is Brian Rayshap. And he's really connected into our CNM Ingenuity.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're deeply involved in all of those conversations.
And the other one is the CTE program. Rio Rancho Schools has a similar kind of, is there any connection between UNM and Rio Rancho Schools for that?
Between CNM?
Yeah.
With the CTE program?
Yeah.
Yes, so we've been working with Rio Rancho to partner around the CTE facility, and I'm happy to share more updates at a later time. I don't have all the specifics around that work right now.
But that is an ongoing
Yeah.
kind of thing. Great.
Rio Rancho Public Schools has been a major partner in the work.
Good. Thank you.
Councilor Murray?
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm somewhat a fan of Mike Rowe, who does the Dirty Jobs show. And his big emphasis is that not everybody is suited for college or wants to go to college. How do we get this out to the high schools that trade jobs are just as important as a college job? And especially with, market being the way it is, how do we get that word out that the trade jobs are just as important as the college is? And maybe maybe the student's not ready to make that transition into college yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Mayor, Councilor Murray, I love the question. This is near and dear to me. A lot of my work previously was in K-12 education. So I think there's a couple of ways I would answer that. First is to say that CNM is working really closely with school districts across the region and have deep partnerships around dual credit and a lot of emerging conversations and partnerships around skilled trades. We also are going to be building, we are actively building a new skilled trades facility on main campus at CNM. And it's been a major part of our work at CNM for many years and continues to be and will continue to be a growth area for us. We've been talking a lot in our recent strategic plan about opportunities to really do more and expand our partnerships with K-12 education so that we can get the word out and start to think about ways that we can utilize dual credit and other opportunities to be able to support exposing students to careers in skilled trades, and then really connecting them to programs that CNM offers, and then really closing the loop. A big part of what we're doing at CM now is expanding our work-based learning opportunities for current students so that before they graduate, they have an opportunity to actually go and have a work-based learning experience, be it an internship or job shadow or other form of work-based learning, so that they can hit the ground running when they get that first job. Or maybe it's not a first job, but they're getting their dream job coming out of CNM.
So if you're wanting an internship, are you integrating them with the unions that are present around the state or in the city?
We partner with everyone that we can possibly partner with on all of these programs. Some of the unions run their own programs. And so we try to partner where we can with all partners.
And so with UNM, and you are seamlessly integrated with them in terms of transitioning from a 2-year program, maybe into a 4-year college program if they want.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Murray, we do a lot with UNM. In fact, we just had a big event this week hosted by UNM talking about our transfer efforts. And one of the key initiatives within our strategic plan that we just launched is going to be focused on a new transfer office that is a lot more learner facing, so that we can help our learners as they're thinking about making that transition to UNM, that they have a more seamless transfer experience getting to UNM. The reality is many learners, actually a lot of our learners are intending to transfer. There are actually a large number of students that spend part of their time at CNM, part of their time at UNM, and go back and forth pretty seamlessly. So our aim is to try to make that transfer experience much easier and much more learner facing.
Yeah, my experience was, and this is 40 years ago, that when I came out of OSU Tech in Oklahoma City, it was a 2-year degree. I had my associate's degree, came out to Sandia Labs, went back to UNM, and trying to get my credits transferred was like pulling teeth. They did not want to give me credit for anything other than my general coursework. And it was somewhat painful to know that you had maybe 60, 70 credits in a technical field, but only were given maybe 20, to be transferred. So I hope that maybe with the transfer with CNM and then UNM would be smoother, and would give credit where credit is due.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Councilor Murray, I would just add one little piece to that, which is we are also expanding an effort called Credit for Prior Learning. So this is an attempt to try to recognize if you're coming in with some sort of previous education, that we have the ability to be able to match that previous education to credits that we offer at CNM. And so that's another key part of the strategy that will support a more seamless experience as our students and our learners are trying to transition from CNM to transition into CNM, but also as they're transferring out to other institutions.
Thank you, Dr. August. It's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, Counselor Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I noticed on your pamphlet, it had two times you used the word boot camp. Can you explain to me what that would be like? Is
Yes,
it like a deep dive into
absolutely.
one study or
So
one
Miss-
type of job?
Mr. Mayor, Counselor Knight, the term boot camp is, I'm not sure where it originally, we know where it comes from, but it's really meant to describe a very short, intense experience where you're in a short number of weeks and you get all of the training in that small number of weeks. It might be 6 weeks, it might be even shorter. And then you get out with a credential that is actually going to be workforce ready. So the idea of a boot camp is this really kind of short duration, intense experience where you get your program all at once and you're out.
Okay, thank you.
So Dr. Gonzalez, thank you very much. We really appreciate you coming.
Appreciate it, Mr. Mayor, counselors. Have a great night.
You're welcome back anytime.
Wonderful. I have to go catch a flight early tomorrow morning, so I'm gonna head out if that's okay.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you for coming. Okay. Mr. Curry, would you like to give the administrator's report?
I would. Tanya, would you like to kick us off as usual, please? Whooping cough.
Thank you, Mayor, Council Administrator Curry. And yes, I'll start with whooping cough. Whooping cough is making national news because of the increase in the United States. We talked about it in September, how we had 42 cases. I did look it up because it's recordable. We are at 52 as of the 14th of October in New Mexico. So we have had a few more. So once again, whooping cough is not just a childhood illness. It affects young children severely and it affects older adults, but it is recommended that everyone has their booster. So you please check with your physician or your local pharmacy. And you can also look up your vaccine records at vaxview.org and get your vaccine records for vaccines that have been given in New Mexico. Someone needs help with that, they're welcome to reach out and call me. So we'll go from whooping cough to flu. Influenza is still low, which is wonderful. The wastewater data for influenza A, which is what they're using to try to track influenza A, but also to look for bird flu H5N1, is still minimal in New Mexico, and New Mexico really has not got anything showing up. As far as COVID goes, nationally, we're dropping. We are down from 7.6% positivity nationally to 6.3%. We are down 0.1% for emergency room departments. It's going to get loud. Sorry, I just had to send the crew out. Emergency room departments have dropped 0.1%. Hospital severity indicators nationally have dropped from 3.7 per 100,000 to 3.2, and deaths have dropped from 1.8 to 1.5% of all deaths have been from COVID. However, I was thinking we were probably getting a spike here in New Mexico because my phone's been ringing a little bit more with people who have COVID, trying to find Paxlovid, finding tests, those kind of things. So I did a deeper dive. Wastewater concentrations have gone up. So in the Sandoval County area, they've increased by 1,000%. So wastewater is starting to go up. In Bernalillo County, it is only increased by 100% right now, and Santa Fe is just slightly starting to go up now. We all can probably figure out why. We just had a big, huge event, lots of people coming in from other towns and countries. So I'm not blaming the balloon fiesta. I think it was wonderful. So I don't want to, irritate my administrator over there. Put a balloon up for you, Ron. Not yours, but it's the one I have. So just be careful. If you're sick, you start having some sniffles, protect yourself, protect your loved ones, especially those at risk. In New Mexico, the data for New Mexico is just starting to come out. They do say it's flu and respiratory season, but right now the biggest, most common one is COVID. RSV and flu are still really low. So Sandoval, it's just slowly starting to uptick, but they put their data is October 10th data. It takes a couple weeks for them to put out the new data. The positivity rate for for Sandoval County right now is 11.5, and we're running at 3.8 people per 100,000 for COVID. That ended October 13th. I think we're going to see a little bit of uptick. I hope I'm wrong, but we usually, when I used to track daily where we were at every day, I'd put the zip code in. Balloon Fiesta, any big event we know is going to increase that. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And if you haven't got your flu shot, go get it. I got mine this last weekend, and I'm going to get my COVID vaccine 2 weeks from now. Did not split them because of, you can take them both. I split them because I want to do my highest immunity for me during the Thanksgiving season to protect my mom.
Any questions? So Tanya, we look good. Thank you very much for your comments, your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Couple of updates. I had mentioned to you that the Legislative Finance Committee was going to be here this week. They're not. And the mix-up was due to misinformation that was given to us by a staff person who's no longer with the LFC.
No surprise there.
And so the committee that she was allegedly supposed to be calling about was the Health and Human Services Committee, which is meeting this week in Rio Rancho. We were a little bit disappointed, but we were definitely misinformed or had disinformation come our way. So apologies from us for passing on that disinformation, but that's what happened. And if they ever choose to come back, we'd certainly, or if they'd ever choose to consider coming here, we'd certainly welcome them because we'd like to share a lot of information about the village. Regarding the Balloon Fiesta that Tanya was talking about, it was probably one of the most, if not the most successful Balloon Fiesta as far as events, flying events that took place. They flew for 10 days in a row. Balloons lifted off for 10 days in a row, including Albuquerque Loft, which included taking off from Corrales Elementary School here in Corrales on the Friday before the Balloon Fiesta first started. But as I've emphasized before, the village of Corrales, who has welcomed them with open arms, played a big role in that because every day at pilots briefing, they were hoping that there would be a box. And there were several days where there were, as many of you saw, balloons flying over your homes, doing splash and dashes in the river, a few mud and thuds in the river because the river's down. But the village was welcoming, and as a result of that, I think there was a prohibitive zone that came back out of Corrales because of the import that went back to the officials at the tower. But we had one day where there were, I think, 40 balloons taking off from our Parks and Rec field and flying back into the field for competition. So the village of Corrales should be very proud of the fact that they welcomed the balloonist. And I think the balloonists feel very good about the fact that they tried to obey and adhere to the needs of the agricultural needs within the village and be respectful of landowner relations. So I know that we usually get a thank you note from Balloon Fiesta, and when it comes, I will pass it on to the council. Last thing I wanted to mention is that Focal, Friends of the Corrales Library, had their book sale over the last weekend or so and raised over $9,000. So that's a good thing for the village and for the library. And, you know, we have a lot of entertainment that comes our way here in the village. And one of the things that is coming up in the village library this Thursday, including popcorn and other goodies, is a series that will be shown called Over the Garden Wall. And I don't know if many of you have seen that, but it's worth taking a look at. And it's an animated feature that pulls back the curtain. You can look at it any way you want to, but it pulls back the curtain on your fears and your anxieties going forward in life. So Over the Garden Wall at our local Corrales Community Library coming up. That's it, Mayor.
Council Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. Ron, so I got an email from Dayton Voorhees asking about the pathway around the 5 acres. I mean, it's something we talked about years ago and I think we approved having that done. Do we have a status of when that can be done before?
You're talking about the Gonzalez?
Yeah, around the 5 acres, and then there was supposed to be an equestrian gate, so the horses, you know, you get through over onto La Entrada, but yeah, around that 5 acres, I think we had discussed this some time ago, and it still hasn't been done, and I'm just curious where that's at.
The Parks and Rec folks and administration is looking at that. You know, that's still the plan. And as far as the cost on that's going to be relatively minor because we're looking at, you know, just basic gravel that would go in there or something that would be easy on the horses and stuff like that. But right now, what we've graded out there is just so that the pathways come around, but we have not put up any signs advertising that. And part of it is due to the fact that we're still looking at how we're going to look at any entrances coming off the property into the library area behind the bandstand there.
Well, I mean, I think the pathway around the 5 acres would be really great if we could get that done. It would allow people at least to have some, you know, some exercise walking around that area.
Okay.
Yeah, the equestrian gate, I know that is dependent upon the expansion of the library and how that is being placed as well. But I think if we can get the pathway around that 5 acres, and even if it was to go out to Crowless Road, you know, it's something that we can, you know, if it needs to be replaced later on, it wouldn't be that big of an impact.
It's actually more than 5 acres, but yes, we agree. And we were thinking of a parking lot in front where people could park.
Yeah.
The pathway would take you over to the library. It hasn't been years, but it may have been a couple of years since we own the property that we've talked about that. But the idea is to leave open space, to have a walkway all the way around. People can exercise, have a place to park, so you can leave your car and go to the library. You don't have to fight for a parking space over at the library. You can go to the park with your children. We have money also for a bathroom, but only half the money we need. We don't have any money yet for the pathway, but we're working on that. And I've been told by our Public Works Director that it's good practice for them to spread that out. And so I've said, let's do it. But it's just a matter of getting the money and getting the material.
Well, I think Larry, the cable guy, says it best. Get her done.
We're working. We're trying. Yes, sir. Councilor Woolman.
Thank you. First of all, I want to recognize Representative for Congresswoman Stansbury is with us. Thank you for coming. She helps us out in Corrales and a number of other areas in Sandoval County. But Ron, I wanted to ask you, in the last budget, $60,000 was put in the budget for an on-call architect to help us, since we have a zoning office, but we don't have a planning office. And I think an architect could help us with that. Can you tell us where we are on the RFP?
We have
for
no
that?
RFP at this point, looking at that.
Okay, could we have that issued by the first of the year and then return within 60 days, say by the 1st of March?
Counselor, we'll take a look at that, and we're looking at all aspects of the RFP versus going through what might be available through CES or through a state contract.
Okay, and you'll provide updates
Sure.
periodically. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Councilor Mira.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How's the striping coming along?
Slow.
That's why I asked.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
I knew it.
No, it is. And, you know, Michael's Michael and his crew are working on it. And I don't know if Michael's online or on the call or not.
He's on there.
Michael, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, Counselor, Mayor, Ron, so right now, within the next couple of weeks, we're gonna finish, the repave that never got finished in La Entrada, and we'll be restriping that whole road from Corrales Road all the way to Loma Larga. As far as the rest of the striping, the grant that we applied for, we didn't receive that, so we're gonna have to try to get funds elsewhere. Now, Loma Larga itself, by probably the next month, towards the end of November, we're gonna actually seal coat that and that'll all be restriped. We'll remark the bike routes and everything on that, but as far as the rest of the roads, we don't have the funds.
Councilor Murray.
Along that lines then, it seems to me then maybe we should put funds into the budget next year to cover a portion of that. And if we only do certain roads in the village, let's get them started, get them striped. And we'll add funds if we need to in the budget process to get this done. Because if we're expecting a grant, I'm not going to count on that. And I think we need to make sure to move forward with this as soon as possible.
Okay. Can I write that down so that when it comes up for the budget, I can remind you?
Yes, please.
I'll do that. Anything else? Anybody else? Counselor Knight.
Talked to Michael a couple months ago about striping, and he told me that, why stripe on an old road? They need to refix the road and then stripe it. I mean, I think that would be more efficient use of our monies. So we just don't want to go, this needs striping and go ahead and do it if it's going to be repaved or redone, and then it's going to have to be done all over again.
Yes, good point. Counselor Murray.
Well, Angel Road has been repaved and it hasn't been striped yet.
Okay, I mean, that's something.
I think that's priority one. It should be, they needs to be striped.
Brush.
Yeah.
It's just paved.
It's right.
Straight, good.
Counselor Alsobrook.
Well, it does seem most efficient to wait until surfaces are repaired and recoated and to hold off striping until then. It loses the sense of immediacy that we have for restriping some of the roads that have some safety issues. So I would just say that's a balancing factor we should consider. Otherwise, we're waiting, some roads are going to be 7 years.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, move on to Cornelius Forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion nor debate, to inform the governing body of an issue or concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during the business session. There will be a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. Now, is Zach here now?
I believe so.
Zach, are you here now?
He's muted.
He's got his iPhone.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, who's first?
Up first is Story White. Story, are you representing the Equestrian Advisory Commission tonight? Okay, you'll have 3 minutes.
I'm Story White. I live on 550 Sagebrush Drive, and I'm here representing the Equestrian Advisory Commission. I'm the chair, or one of the chairs. I want to invite the mayor and all of you nice counselors to come to our Corrales, the parade, the Caballos, Christmas de los Caballos parade. It is the 24th of November on a Sunday at 1. And it'd be great if you guys could show up because, it'll kick off the donations and the gifts for the fire department.
So
It's-
this is on Corrales Road, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're in the final planning stages, so we've submitted all the paperwork.
And you start where again?
Generally, we start around Target Road
Okay.
or no, Wagner's. It's Wagner. I'm thinking of the.
I was
4th
going
of
to
July.
say,
Sorry,
you
it's
come by our
Wagner's.
house all the time.
Yeah,
So,
it's Wagner's.
so we'll be sure to
Getting
be out there.
parades Confused. Too many
Thank you.
parades. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Who's next?
Up next is Sam Metler. Sam, if you'll come up to the podium, give us your name and address. You will have 3 minutes.
My name is Samuel I. Metler, 42 Mountain Shadows Road. And My concerns are that the laws aren't being followed when there's events on anywhere close to the library, because people park on both sides. And I was cited a month and a half ago for crossing the yellow line. No offense to the CPD, because I did. But my wife is Dr. Kristen Adair, PhD for Sandia National Labs, and is the Disabled Employee of the Year for 2024. She can't walk down the road because the cars block it. And I got hit by a car the other day just trying to help a disabled motorist. So people should not be parking where there's no parking signs. It says no parking, but it needs to be enforced because it makes it very dangerous for us, the equestrians, the parents, everybody. And let's just enforce the laws and make it so expensive that they learn not to park in an illegal spot. Because we have to go up that road to get home. And my wife can't walk down the road because it's too dangerous. So, and especially when she has her service animal with her. So let's just use some common sense and keep La Entrada from being a parking lot and make it a safer place for we the residents, especially our disabled residents. Thank you very much. You all, God bless you all and be safe.
Thank you, Mr. Mettler.
And last this evening, Mr. Ken DeHoff. If you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
I'm Ken DeHoff, 66 Bad Coyote Place. I invite you and all the residents of Corrales to the public Sandoval County Ethics Board hearing, 3:30 p.m. November 7th in the Sandoval County Commission chambers. My wife and I are seeking to hold the assessor and her employees to account for the many false statements they made in the course of our protest hearing last year. I told you about the assessor's malfeasance in an email on June 14th. I also told you that the assessor has been effectively stealing money from many of us and has violated the constitutional rights of all of the Corrales through an unlawful flat rate land valuation scheme, which results in every acre of land being valued the same, $204,000 an acre east of Loma Larga, $166,000 to the west. We have protested the assessor's unconstitutional property valuation increases for 3 years in a row and have won every time. Last year, the protest board told the assessor her land valuation method in Corrales was unlawful. And in an act best described as harassment, the assessor sued us in district court to reverse the board's decision, spending tens of thousands of dollars on taxpayer dollars on 5 lawyers over a $3,000 disputed tax. She lost. I won, and I'm not a lawyer. On September 23rd, the assessor was told by the district court judge that her land valuation method in Corrales is unlawful because it does not consider actual property characteristics like location or market value, which results in identical valuations for all our properties. The judge's order is on our website, corraleslandrights.org, if you want to read it. The assessor has been using this regressive and discriminatory method for several years and has fundamentally corrupted property valuations in Corrales. That makes the revenue the village has received from our property taxes over several years unconstitutional and subject to restitution. It is not enough for the assessor to admit wrongdoing and stop. This needs to be fixed. Article 8, Section 1 of the New Mexico Constitution gives us all the right to be taxed based on our property's value, and today we are not. As our elected representatives of Corrales, you have the ethical obligation and responsibility based on the oaths you swore to the Constitution to address this now. I urge you to escalate this matter to the governor and insist that she invoke her supervisory authority over the assessor to restore constitutional market value-based valuations to all our properties. And by the way, you and the assessor use the same lawyers, and ABA Rule 1.10 prevents any of them from assisting you in this matter. So please seek your counsel elsewhere.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. So we'll move on to Councilors Forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion or debate. To inform the governing body of an issue or a concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during the business session, council member may respond to an issue or a concern brought up by a resident in the preceding Coriolanus Forum, but to remain in compliance with the Open Meeting Act, the subject will not be up for debate or discussion due to not being listed on the agenda as an agenda item with proper public notice. Who wishes to start? Councilor Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. As I was reading through the packet, I noticed that Lynn had requested monies for new heaters and filters for the pools. I remember he came before our council last spring about the heaters, and I thought he got it fixed, but I guess he needs a new one. And I was just wondering, is this going to come out of his budget, or is this extra money he needs?
We're going to have to fund it. Is Lynn online?
I think so.
So what was the number, do you recall, for the filter and the heaters? So the heater he worked on and got it through the season,
Right.
basically. Same with the filter, although we did have a lot of trouble with the filters. I don't know if you recall that the pool was, foul color. And so we need a new filter to get the manganese out of the water. We need the heat. Oh, here's Lynn. Lynn, you want to address her questions?
No, yes, I'm on. So thanks, Mel. So the heater, I did get it to work this year, but we are gonna need another one. I mean, so the pool's 27 years old. So, but the heater, I did get it to work. I probably can get that to work another year. But the filters, though, that is something I cannot get to work another year. And so it came to to get all of it redone. I have a quote for it, I think in my office is $210,000. I think the 210,000. But that's to get both. I think the filters though is like 130, 150. But those really have got to get redone. Cause I mean, and also right now, I also found a guy that lives on Ranchitos Road that actually can probably make this pool run so much better. Just getting a filter that will filter the water that is feeding the pool that will make this pool run so much better. And I should have that quote by tomorrow. That will get all the manganese and iron and all the other metals out of it, which will also clean the pipes that are feeding the whole entire rec center.
So try to get another 27 years out of it.
We're also working on a grant for that money.
Yeah, because
We are.
He asked last year and he said, "Oh, I'll do my best to fix it," but you can only fix things so
Correct.
often and then you got to
Correct.
get new ones.
But he was successful and we let it ride. And we're looking for recreational grants, and Tanya's has found a bunch of them. So we're just applying.
Great. And I have one other question.
Yes, ma'am.
This is for Michael and Lori. I noticed that you talked to some homeowners on Via Vista, talking to them about working with them to help with the drainage off their road. Could you tell me some of those conversations that you've had with them?
Sure. So there's a property that kind of takes the brunt of a lot of rainfall coming down from two other properties. So we met with her about the possibility of getting a village easement on the upstream side of her property, which she's very amenable to. And then one of the other properties that actually sort of provides some of the drainage, about getting something on the, I guess, the downhill side and having way more robust retention there. And in the meantime, I did find about the possibility of perhaps some funding, which I've applied for. I haven't heard back yet, but the ultimate goal would be to have a Village of Corrales easement on each of the properties that would then allow Public Works to go in and maintain those ponds.
Okay, thanks. That'd be great. That's in my district. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Councilor Murray.
Just an FYI, because later this afternoon, I tried to get over to my storage unit and traffic was backed up on the south end of the village, mainly because they had restricted traffic to one lane going south of Alameda. They also had restricted to one turn lane, turn left to go east. And consequently, traffic was backed up just to beat the band. So when I was fetching dinner tonight, I noticed it was still one lane south of Alameda. So folks, beware, if you're trying to get out of the village tomorrow morning, I don't know if it'll be cleared up or not, but give yourself some extra time.
You know why this was?
I have a sneaking suspicion it's because the new Panda Express building is about ready to open and maybe they're cleaning up some road work or something. I don't know. But I couldn't tell what was down there, but as soon as you got past Alameda, it went down to one lane. And so I don't know. But anyway, just give yourself a little extra time tomorrow if you're trying to go south.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So let's move on to the consent agenda. Approval of minutes from October 8th, 2024, regular council meeting, approval of resolution 24-77, which is a budget adjustment resolution of some legislative grants and funds we've received. Approval of resolution 24-78, lodgers tax disbursement for Starlight Parade, and approval of resolution 24-79, co-sponsoring the Starlight Parade. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any, what's the consent agenda? So all those in favor? Oh, no. Councilor Murray, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilor Burkett?
Yes.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
Councilor Woolman?
Aye.
Councilor Meara? All right. All right, next is old business, consideration action approval of resolution 24-57, which is adoption of the Corrales Main Street Arts and Cultural District Cultural Economic Development Plan that was postponed from August 13th, 2024. And this is the date certain that you chose. Councilor Murray, do I have a motion to approve?
Mayor, I move that we postpone this item, but I'd still like discussion, but postpone to January 28th to give time for the comprehensive plan to be voted.
Okay, so may I make a comment? If you would like a discussion, then you can move to approve. We would have the discussion and then we would vote on the motion to approve. We would vote on the motion to approve, which we don't know what'll happen. That's just another way of
Well, that's a
approaching.
risk that I'm a little worried about.
Okay,
Agree.
all right. So you made a motion to put it off
Well,
January 28th. Is that a good day, Melanie?
that is the second, should be the second, council.
I think.
Okay, do I have a second?
How do we get around? How do we get around having, because people are here to talk, but yet again, I am still worried about not seeing the comp plan and having Chris get up and tell us that it probably won't be available for final draft until sometime early next year.
To be fair to everybody, there's no really good way to get around just that. If you want to have a discussion, you have to bring it to the floor.
All right, Mayor,
wanna-
I will withdraw my postponement. I will move to approve and we'll see where it falls.
Okay, do I have a second?
Do I need to withdraw my second of his first motion?
Are you okay with him withdrawing?
No. That's why I'm asking.
Well, you're just the second. I mean, that's a big deal.
No,
but you're still-
no, that's procedurally, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Do we have a second for his motion to approve the resolution?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Okay, so now we'll have discussion. Now, we can start by opening the floor, or you guys could discuss.
I would like to hear the floor because this is something that wasn't done last time, but I would like to hear, public comment.
So, Melanie, do you have a list of people who would like to speak?
Yes, it looks like we have about 12 people that would like
Okay.
to speak.
Okay, so you have 3 minutes. Excuse me.
And our timer up here has quit working, so I will time people at 3 minutes, but unfortunately our
So does that mean you're
Andy
gonna make
timer.
that horrible sound that you can?
yes.
Okay.
no.
All right.
I will not use that sound. Up first is our Zoom participant, Carmen Martinez Titman.
Okay.
And Carmen, are you on?
Yes, I am. I just took the mute off. Thank you, Mayor and councilors and the public in the audience. I would like to read a letter written by Tessa Davidson. Thank you for the opportunity to do that. Dear village councilors and Mayor Fahey. What's that?
Sorry, Carmen, go ahead.
A work commitment in Denver prevents me from being able to attend the village council meeting this upcoming Tuesday evening on October 22nd, 2024. Thus, in lieu of attending in person, I am writing to respectfully request that you defer the vote on Resolution 24-57, adoption of Corrales Main Street's Art and Cultural District Cultural Economic Development Plan, postponed from August 13th, 2024, until the Village Council has approved and adopted the Village of Corrales Comprehensive Plan. When the Village Council voted to postpone action on Corrales Main Street's ACD plan on August 13th, most members recognized that the goals and objectives of the ACD plan must conform to the Village's comprehensive plan and intended to postpone action on the ACD plan until completion of the comprehensive plan approval process. Thus, Village residents, including myself, reasonably expected that the council would not act on the ACD plan until they and the council were able to review its goals and objectives in the context of the village's comprehensive plan. However, the comprehensive plan has not yet been released for public review, nor has it been approved by the village. Corrales Main Street states it is not the intention of the ACD plan to support projects that circumvent the community process. The implementation strategy acknowledges that an arts and cultural district is an active effort of the local community through a partnership with the local arts council and through support and buy-in of the local community. Mutual trust, transparency, active inclusion, and community participation are necessary to further the goals and objectives of the plan. Further, the current draft of the ACD plan itself states on page 7, the village comprehensive plan serves as a long-term framework for the community's physical, social, and economic development. The village relies on this plan to achieve its long-term vision, manage land use, and guide future investments. Supporting this effort, the Arts and Cultural Economic Development Plan operates at a lower level and aims to align with the core values of the Corrales Comprehensive Plan, focusing specifically on the community's unique arts, culture, history, and heritage. Consequently, the implementation strategies of the ACEDP must not conflict with the Village Comprehensive Plan. It appears Corrales Main Street and perhaps others are satisfied that the current draft of the ACD plan aligns with the objectives of the draft comprehensive plan. However, Corrales residents have not yet been afforded the opportunity to review the draft comprehensive plan, ensuring active inclusion and community participation by residents, and especially those residing within and adjacent to the proposed ACD boundary.
Thanks, Carmen. That's your time.
Thank you.
Up next is Rex Funk. If you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
I'm Rex Funk. I live at 121 Cary Road in Corrales. There are 2 things I enjoy about living in Corrales. One of them is serenity and the other is community. I enjoy the spaces and quiets and the ability to walk my dog along the trails and sand dunes and the bosque where I meet the mayor sometimes. I also value the community as I experience as a member of the Corrales Society of Artists and other groups that I'm associated with in Corrales. The ACD proposal grew out of community, and it puzzles me that some of the people view it as threatening their serenity. For the past 4 years, I have participated in the Corrales Art Studio Tour. Some of the people who come to my studio are Corrales neighbors and some who come from other communities. They have 2 things in common. First, they come in search of beautiful things, art. They are not here to litter, drag race, steal horses, or corrupt our children. Second, when they buy my art, they all use the same currency, and I collect sales taxes, which benefit the village. Some of my customers visit local businesses and also increasing revenue for the village. Economists have long recognized that municipalities can't exist on the revenues from residential areas alone. They need a vibrant business district as well. And this helps the village to provide and improve services such as police, fire, EMTs, taking care of our parks, the bosque and trails. Without these revenues, the burden would fall on all of us to maintain these services, or we would have to choose which ones to do without. 3 years ago, the New Mexico Main Street, an organization that confers ACDs, set out two requirements for a Corrales ACD. The first was a signature event. Our event became Viva Corrales and involves over 18 organizations and several businesses in Corrales, giving presentations and demonstrations to participants. It continues today, and the second one was held last May, I believe. The second requirement for the ACD was a plan which you are considering now and apparently not considering tonight. In this plan, we are not asking the council for money or approval of bricks and mortar projects. I think there's some misunderstanding of that. Just a designation for a defined area as an arts and cultural district. The thrust of this plan is to build community and to improve communications and cooperations among the many organizations and entities in the village. The ACD will also give access to grants which could further the goals of the ACD. An example would be to provide artists with training to sell their art on the internet. In closing, this approval has already been delayed long enough. The ACD provides the greatest good to the greatest number of people and benefits not only businesses, artists, and organizations, but also the village as a whole. And I urge you to approve the ACD. Thank you.
Thank you, Rex.
Okay, up next is Marianne, and I know I've butchered your last name in the past, so I apologize. Wozoliak? Wishowick, thank you. I'll make myself a little pronunciation guide for next.
Yeah, I'll probably be up here again. I'm sorry to keep showing up here, but nothing seems to change, so I'm here again. And I'm not quite sure why this item, the ACD approval, ended up on the agenda when it was supposed to be put off until the comprehensive plan was done, which seems to make a lot of sense to me and would be more respectful to everybody in the community. There seemed to be no reason to try to rush all this. We should be able to have time to look at the comprehensive plan, look at the ACD, see if there's a problem between the two, and it sounds like there might be some, but I don't want to prejudge because I haven't seen the comprehensive plan. But I think we need to remember what the Main Street ACD thing is. It focuses on more. It focuses on more development, more money, more businesses, more events, more people. And with that, there come some downsides, more traffic, more crime, worse quality of life. But we've talked about all this before. But I'm disturbed by the fact that the ACD still includes things that I thought we were done with, like that 250 or 230 seat amphitheater, which we spent 6 months, Johnny Martinez being the chair of that, everybody testifying about it. I thought that was gone because the councilors voted no. It's still there. As also it is on the website. What is it still doing on the village website? There's a big page all about it with the same old drawing saying, you know, comment. I'm disturbed by what seems to me a lack of consideration by Main Street and whatever forces are behind it to what people will actually want. And I see no reason to push and vote on the ACD tonight before we've seen what the comprehensive plan is, which should trump the ACD. Let's get all the information and see how it all fits together. There's no reason to rush this. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Gray Howell. If you'll state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. My name's Gray Howell at 344 Maneer Road. And I just make this pretty short, but myself and many others who are also stakeholders in this community for many, many years urge you to wait and vote on the ACD plan until after the comprehensive plan is done and understood by all. We all deserve to know everything that's been planned and that will affect our lives for years to come. The ACD plan should be discussed afterwards. Please don't put the cart before the horse. Now, I'd like to read one little thing here that I did read the ACD plan. And this was the one part that I actually liked out of the whole thing, but it made sense to me. And I quote, this was printed, "Growth is inevitable and desirable, but destruction of a community character is not. The question is not whether your part of the world is going to change. The question is how." And this was written by Edward T. McMahon. Thank you very much.
Jim Kruger. Jim, if you'll come up and state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
I'm Jim Kruger. I'm here tonight as Vice President of Corrales Main Street. And I live at 1124 Palo Alto Court in Bernalillo. Mayor, councilors, I thank you for considering the adoption of Resolution 2457 this evening and would like to give you a little information about the plan from Corrales Main Street's perspective. As you're aware, the establishment of the Arts and Culture District in Corrales has been underway by Corrales Main Street for several years. The plan was developed based on community input and has been revised multiple times based on additional community input. The final step in receiving authorization from the state of New Mexico as an arts and cultural district is the adoption of the Arts and Cultural District Plan by the village's governing body. The plan before you does not make any recommendations about current or future projects in the village of Corrales. But as it says in the plan, it is a guide and a roadmap to provide a vibrant arts and agricultural setting for residents and visitors that is anchored in heritage, will preserve history, and can foster economic vitality in the community. The plan also acknowledges, as was noted by one of the earlier speakers on page 7, the role of the arts and cultural plan as it relates to the current or to be revised village comprehensive plan. And I would ask a rhetorical question at this point, and that is, why would Corrales Main Street or anyone else want to damage the things that make Corrales the place we all love? To that end, I would like to restate the plan's 5 goals. Number 1, foster local participation and engagement in the arts and cultural district. Number 2, attract more locals to create businesses, ACD programs, and events. Number 3, make village culture and history as inclusive and accessible as possible to increase local awareness, pride, and community support of local heritage and culture. Number 4, cultivate a supportive ecosystem for local artists, entrepreneurs, and creatives. Number 5, support the unique arts and agricultural environment. With those goals in mind, I don't know how there could ever be any conflict between the Arts and Cultural District Plan and the proposed revision to the comprehensive plan. With that, I would encourage your support and vote. Thank you for your support and encourage your vote for the resolution 2457. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Pat McClernand. Pat, if you'll state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
I'm Pat McClernand, P.O. Box 2012, Corrales. Mr. Mayor, councilors, I was encouraged to hear Chris Allen discuss the neighborhood commercial, which is the same defined area that the ACD is. She brought forth the biggest problem of the conflict between residential and commercial, something that still hasn't been worked out. Our Chapter 18 addresses it as neighborhood commercial and just simply says it needs to relate. But obviously there's problems. I think that Corrales Main Street needs to refocus the ACD economic plan to provide a rural protection strategy. This is critical to prevent a change to our equilibrium that's irreversible. It's essential to strike a balance between fostering growth and maintaining authenticity. Developing an economic plan must center on sustainability of local culture and history, while first enhancing the quality of life for residents, but must also support local businesses. The primary goal must be to foster economic growth without sacrificing the unique character and the cultural heritage. It's a non-renewable resource that must be protected. A revised plan should move away from incorporating branding and advertising regionally to promote economic development. Our quiet rural character contrasts with the urban chaos which surrounds us and creates a magnet for tourism without promotion. This proposed plan needs to be rewritten with a strategy that guarantees success for the residents of Corrales. A few elements to be incorporated, but certainly not limited to, are implement planning that preserves the natural landscape and limit the size and scope of any new tourist developments. Set limits on the size of events to prevent them from becoming overly commercialized or attracting too many outside vendors. Keep all major decision-making processes community-led with transparency and accountability. Keep open channels of communication with the community. Create a cultural and historic impact assessment process or on any economic plan or development that would be similar to what we all recognize as an environmental impact assessment. This would evaluate how a project might affect local traditions, cultural sites, and community. The saying, anything that works everywhere else doesn't work in New Mexico. We can add that what works for most Main Street communities doesn't work for Corrales. Restructuring the ACD plan will provide protection from overdevelopment to the benefit of Corleone. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Sue Evett. Sue? Okay. Sabine Schurter. Sabine, if you can state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sabine Schurter. I live on 47 Rincon Road, and I loved what I just heard from Pat. As a comprehensive plan is not finalized, alignment with an adopted comprehensive plan is impossible. That is one of the issues addressed in the ACD plan. Thus, the ACD plan should not be adopted at this point. Claiming that the ACD plan aligns with Corrales' core values is a huge stretch, in my humble opinion. For example, a sense of community, one core value, shall be promoted by aiming for transparency and effective engagement and communication with residents. During the development of the ACD plan, the regular villagers and the people who live in, next to, or close to the proposed ACD were only marginally, if at all, involved, or even asked to get involved. We didn't know about this. Residents, even the ones living in the proposed ACD, are not even considered stakeholders in the ACD plan. That's a terrible omission. and shortcoming. Main Street has refused to remove the 250-seat regional performance venue, which is a brick and mortar project once it gets going from the ACD plan. However, the multi-use facility was rejected as presented at the time. Hundreds of Coraleños spoke against the regional performance center for a variety of reasons, further explained in my emails to the mayor and the councilors. I really think on these accounts, the ACD plan does get an F. They are not considering residents. They are not stakeholders. To hurry to vote the ACD plan in for now will harm residents or could harm residents and diminish our chance for a sustainable future for our village. Please further postpone the vote on the ECD Economic Development Plan until it's fully aligned with the Corrales core values and a finalized comprehensive plan. Also, what happens in the proposed ACD will affect residents beyond its boundaries. And I just refer to noise. We are working on a noise map to describe what is going on noise-wise in Corrales, and it's pretty bad. This music is plainly audible between Corrales Road and the Bosque, Wagner's Lane and Priestley, even the area of Old Church Road and Ella Drive. It's ridiculous. So something needs to be done. Time limits will not do the job. And villagers are getting really upset, and they feel like living in an area sacrificed to business and economic development. Please consider this too. Thank you.
So Melanie, I'm going to go a little out of order here because we've heard it twice now. There's not going to be a multi-use facility constructed in the village in the near future. That would be, I would say, within 10 or 20 years. I don't know why it's still on the website. I don't know why you guys keep talking about it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not in the ACD plan. It's not in the ACD plan. So can we take it off the website?
Yeah, I had left it on the website because we got a lot of people calling and asking, what is this? And so we left it up there for reference purposes so people could go back and look and see what was discussed.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I can unpublish the page from the website. It's a click of a button.
Yeah, because it seems to me it's perpetuating this misinformation, disinformation, false, whatever. Let's just get rid of it.
I will do that in the morning.
Okay, thank you very much, Melanie. Okay, who's next?
Okay, next is Brad Schurter. And Mr. Schurter, if you could state your name and address for the record, you too will have 3 minutes.
I'm Brad Schurter. I live at 47 Rincon Road. The saying, the horse before the cart, behind the cart, is a little bit out of context here, actually. The way I look at it, it's a horse being dragged down a hole, downhill by a wagon. So anyway, but the ACD is supposed to be, should be a document that supports the comprehensive plan and is in agreement with it. And so it's essential. It's a long-term guiding document that keeps the community, helps a community balance its natural and built environments and ensure growth makes community better. Policies for development, including types of development and how they interact, are part of the comprehensive plan. A process for identifying community needs and resources which includes a process for developing community consensus, a blueprint for future government actions. A comprehensive plan can help communities create opportunities for residents to participate in guiding the community's future. Property, that is?
Amber.
No, no, it's an Amber Alert. Amber Alert.
Should we?
It's an Amber Alert. You're okay. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. See. Oh, let's see, I was saying that should create opportunities for residents to participate in guiding the community's future, protect property rights and values. The comprehensive plan gives outsiders the same as residents input that as I understand it. Cell phone data, by the way, many people have cell phones as their main phone in Corrales. And any time you use your phone, you're going to be counted as traffic. So I don't think that's a reasonable way to go on that. And I have a traffic engineer that agrees with me. Quiet business to follow our ordinances as residents, quiet businesses to follow our ordinances as residents have to, which they're not. They're not playing.
Okay, up next is Marty Sanchez. If you'll state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, councilors, mayor. My name is Marty Sanchez. I live at 338 Wagner Lane. What I want to say tonight is a little bit different than what I had in my mind when I first came in here. But sitting back, listening to people like Patrick, Sabine, Brad, they have said it so simply and eloquently. Yeah, we are putting the silly cart before the horse. Not to be rude, but oftentimes government does that. Let's be a little smarter than that. In all honesty, how many of you people here, if you were going to go home tonight, you're going to make yourself a snack. Let's pull out the tortilla. Let's pull out some beans and some cheese. Let's get this all ready so we can have our snack. How many of you guys would actually put the beans in your hand, the cheese in your hand, the meat in your hand, and then look at the tortilla and say, oh, okay, I've got my burrito, but it isn't quite together. So I guess I better smear it all on there and eat it. Absurd, isn't it? I'm a really simplistic person. I'm a Vadio kid, and I grew into a Corrales young adult and old adult. And what I see is I don't want to eat that burrito. It's pretty gross now. I don't want to look at the comprehensive plan down the road after the ACE has already been approved. It doesn't make sense. I really, really am trusting all of us here, all of you here, to be sensible about our community. The comprehensive plan is going to affect every one of us for a long time out. And as old as I am, maybe I'm not even going to make it to the end of it. And quite frankly, I don't care. But my grandson is, my daughter is, a good portion of the kids that I taught at Corrales Elementary or Sandoval have their kids here, and they're going to make it for that. I want it to be good for them. I'm not opposed to art or the art community. Hell, if I could have made a casita in my house before I blew it and didn't know you all stopped it, I would have had my own art studio because I too am an artist. I haven't been able to do it because I can't make my casita. And what I do with glass, I can't have it in my house. But the bottom line is I want it all. We aren't going to have it all. If we vote to go ahead and let the ACE come in before our comprehensive plan, our backbone, it's going to be fragmented. And truthfully, I want more for our government than fragmentation. Thank you for your consideration.
Next is Teresa Lopez. Teresa, if you'll come and state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Teresa Lopez, 025 Rupert's Lane. I'm not going to repeat all of what you guys have read in the letters that people have sent, and they're the stakeholders that they've sent you in this village or have talked directly to you about recently concerning the desire to postpone the ACD plan till after the stakeholders, who are all the Correreños in this village, have had a chance to review the comprehensive plan. Let us see it first. Plain and simple, you should wait, like you said at the last meeting you were going to. I hope you do. Thank you.
Fred Hashimoto. Fred, if you'll state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Howdy, I'm Fred Hashimoto. I live at 485 East La Entrada. Whoa, please, what is the rush? The most obvious issue with this meeting has been whether to wait on addressing the ACD plan until after the comp plan finalization, as many of you specified at the August 13th meeting, should be done. In fact, only one of you said, let's go on, let's do it now. The rest of you were not in favor of that. Tonight, people came to speak and support your decisions at that meeting. However, 2 other very important topics exist, but they have yet to be discussed at a council meeting. Number 1, what is in this plan? Number 2, what is the plan's role? Number 1, what is in this plan? We started talking about it a little bit, and I know the mayor talked about a 250-seat performance center, but it's tucked away on page 36 in small print. And actually, after the August 13th meeting, Michelle and I had a long talk. She said, where is it? And I said, it's on page 36. She took out her plan and said, oh yeah, there it is. She took out a pen, circled it, and said, I'll take it out. It was still there. A month or so ago, a couple dozen of us invited 4 people from Main Street to come and interface with us. One of the main topics was a 250-seat theater. And later we got a comment from Angela saying, well, any facility has to wait till the comprehensive plan. Cool, that's hopefully what we're doing. However, despite multiple public requests, Main Street insists on its inclusion, justifying this by, quote, artists indicate need for more performance spaces intimate and up to 250 people, unquote. Well, many Corraleños, including artists, have not been in favor of such a facility, and earlier this spring, the MUF committee, which included several artists, unanimously voted that the MUF design with 230-seat theater would not benefit the village, period. Number 2, what is the plan's role? We've talked about this before, and I think our counselor actually brought it up to us. The agenda wording for this item has been changed. It used to be approve the plan, and now it's adopt the plan. Oftentimes, adopting means creating or adopting policy. This plan is not a candidate for policy. It has been fashioned by a very small number of single-minded people who have handpicked stakeholders and input. Input from the public was an afterthought and generally ignored. Word changes have generally been cosmetic. Exactly what the plan means to you and what role it should play in village decisions and policy making should be clearly understood and articulated. It should be spelled out very clearly in the resolution approving or adopting it. Please do not approve this at this time and wait till after the comp plan is finalized. Thank you.
There's one person that is approached and asked to speak, but they're not signed up. Do you want to let them speak, Mayor?
One left, is that the one?
One person that has not signed up but has asked to speak.
Sure.
Okay. Johnny Martinez, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
I am Johnny Martinez, 200 Raphael Court. I didn't know most of you a while back, but you know that I come to you before every council meeting. I'll shake your hand and say hi. I look you in the face. I have some integrity, so I can do that without shame. There's people I don't agree with here. We talk, and they're my neighbors. Angela and I have talked. We've even talked about how to make Main Street work here in Corrales, and I think you can give me that. But I've mentioned before, Mayor and Council, transparency and integrity. And then I see in the mayor's message, people play that card when they don't like what they hear. But you can't, these people, I didn't know most of these people before I was in that first committee, but because I opened it up to the public, I got to meet a bunch of people. So when you try to push things through without us having all the facts, it screams deception, or it screams something that we're hiding something. Sir, you asked, why would we do something that would hurt the village or damage what we love? We had a gentleman tonight testify that his wife can't walk the streets because of what we have going on in the village. Mr. Funk, you're a fine gentleman. I hope your heart and your woodwork goes. I've met you. You're a great person, and I hope things work for you for your interests.
Johnny,
but let's do stuff together, and we can't do that if we don't have all the pieces. And that's all I'm asking. Hear these people out. They want you just to wait. Just wait. So we can see that, and then we can see what the ACD has. They would say they work, they fit, and let's do this together. Otherwise, you're always going to have that, Mayor. You're always going to have people questioning the integrity of this body and people that speak. Because we come here and we speak publicly, and yet some things happen, and we think, what happened behind closed doors? Who's been in whose ears? Because we're talking publicly, and we say one thing, but then in the next meeting, we find out something else is going on. So I'm just asking, let's just wait. Let's slow down. Let's wait on this comprehensive plan. Let's see how it works. We work together and we get something that works for the community. Let's do it together. That's all I'm asking. And I think that's what the people here are asking. Let's just wait. There's no rush. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I believe that is it.
So the reason we're having this discussion, when Councilor Murray first made his motion to not, was that correct? You were going to make a motion to not approve the motion. You were going to put it off till January 28th.
Well, to defer action.
And that's what we did the last time. We deferred it to this date. So we had to bring it up on this date because we told everybody we were going to do it on this date. And so that's only fair and open and give you a chance to speak. And you had a chance to speak because we both agreed that people wanted to speak. And so therefore we listened to everybody tonight. Now, does anybody up here want to speak? Make any comments? Yes, sir. Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So after reading the plan, I have questions, and I don't know if Angela wants to respond to them or not. But there are questions I have about the ACD. Or we can put this off. I'd be dependent on what the council wants to do. And then.
Well, you have the floor. What do you want to do?
All right. So Angela, come on. Can I let me ask you a
Mayor, I'd like to
question?
call for the vote.
Does anybody else have any other comments? Is everybody amenable to a vote?
No, well, we ready for a vote? I have a couple of questions, but I don't know. If you're asking if somebody's still gonna have.
You're calling the question, basically.
Calling question, yes, sir.
All right.
Although he has the floor, but
I'll
Actually-
defer to the Counselor Alsbrook.
Okay.
there you go.
All right. Does anybody else have a question? Okay. Counselor Alsobrook, how do you vote?
No.
Counselor Knight?
Review what we're voting on real quick.
Okay. We are voting whether to, we're on consideration action approval of resolution 2457. The motion was to approve the resolution 2457. So if you vote in opposition to it, you are denying the motion. If you vote for it, then you are approving the motion. So we've had one vote against.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir. Counselor Burkett.
I think this is definitely a vote that there needs to be more discussion before we have this vote. It's forcing people to make a vote on something that we have not really discussed even the contents of. All we've talked about this is the process of it so far.
Okay, the question was called and we're having a vote. You certainly have an opportunity to vote. Counselor Knight, you want,
I still don't, I don't get what we're voting on,
You're voting to approve the resolution.
as it is right now.
Yes.
yes.
No,
Counselor Woolman,
No.
Counselor Mira,
No.
and Counselor Murray.
Oh, as what-
And Counselor Burkett?
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay, so that's basically a no functionally. So it did not pass. Now, what's next? Yes,
I make a motion that we revisit resolution 2457 at the end of January.
do you want to give us a date certain? We've decided January 28th is our next, January 28th? Okay, so,
After the comprehensive plan is.
okay,
given-
we don't know that those are going to be the same.
That was gonna be my question.
Yeah.
I had a question.
We
I'll
don't know
second
that
that.
that will be the same.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion to defer it to January 28th. We assume it's going to be, that's 3 months. You know, they were supposed to be finished with this thing in February.
Yes.
It'll be almost an extra year. So we would assume it would be done. Okay, so we have a motion in a second,
And then we have a discussion. I have a question.
and now you can talk.
Just what you're talking about, I just want to amplify that. Are we still gonna be in a, where I'm looking for,
For whom?
I'm looking for the,
Chris Allen, she left.
oh, she left. Well, the question would have been, I'd like to vote on that particular one, but can she,
She said that she thinks November,
okay?
okay?
Well,
Okay.
their 30-day comment period
That's
ends
November.
before Thanksgiving. So the earliest it could come before council would
Be
be the
December.
first meeting in January, really, because they want time to tweak the plan.
That's where the question comes in. is
And I don't
they're gonna
think-
Have to tweak the plan based on the, whatever the community said they had, concerns or likenesses of that particular program. Would they have that ready by January the 28th? Is that what you're proposing?
You know, if they don't have it ready by January 28th, we can go through the same exercise we did tonight. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do.
Alrighty,
Yes.
my question's off.
I have another, just an observation, that 230 seat needs to be out of that. That's. Not included in this.
Yeah.
If it is, then leave it in, but if it isn't.
No, it's not.
Then take it out, because obviously people are still thinking that, oh no, they're still planning on this and it's going behind, like you said, it's not transparent enough. I mean, we've said that, that other committee that Johnny was ahead of, they said no about the multi-use facility. And if it's still in the plan, I could see where people are confused. So thank you for making sure that's going to be out of there then.
You want to speak?
I just want to say it is.
Go up there and speak. We can't hear you on the tape.
What you can't hear? The reason it's in there is because that was information gathered from the 20 organizations and people in this community. If we take that out, we put things that they wanted, we put them in there. So why should we take things out when it was just things that other people in the community asked for?
Okay, okay, okay. Anybody else?
Can I just have one thing explained then? Johnny Martinez, could you explain, your group talked about the multi-use facility, right? That was the total stance of your.
May I say something? We're a little bit this is a lot out of order. We're talking about the ACD and we're not talking about the multi-use facility or whatever they want to call it. That's not even in there. It's not going to be done. We don't have to go through that.
Okay.
All the minutes from their meeting are still on the website until tomorrow morning. So
Yeah, you can look at it tonight when you get home.
that was another reason why I left that up there, is it was the record of all of the minutes from those meetings. So
The meetings from the.
Yes,
Yes.
from every committee that has looked at this.
From the beginning until the end of Johnny's committee.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have some concerns about the ACD, but I can postpone that until the January 28th meeting.
Thank you.
That's how it says.
Oh, Michelle, sorry. I was,
You need more.
Can I make a point of clarification?
you sure may. Go right ahead. This is Michelle Nicretti, who is involved in putting this all together with the Main Street organization here in the community, plus you were working for State Main Street.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, counselors. I just wanted to make a point of clarification. So we did spend considerable time meeting with the community over the last couple of months since the plan was deferred. And yes, there is language that talks about a 250 square foot per person facility that's still in the plan. There has been language added that qualifies why that is in there. That is not the section for implementation. That is the section that explains the process of collecting information and what we heard from the community through the process. And it also states that there is a group of residents that don't agree, and that the process for any kind of future facility should take into consideration the process that has happened here, the history of that process. And it's really there to bring up the attention to the fact that this facility discussion has been ongoing in this community, and there's not consensus on it. It is not at all to state that Main Street, Corrales Main Street, or this plan is advocating for that use. It is merely documenting the history that's come this far and what has been heard through this process. Now, if people here feel that should be removed and that story should be left out of this plan, I'm not going to object to that. But that is why it's there. Thank you.
Councilor Burkett has a question, Mayor.
Councilor.
I do. Just to comment on what was just said, I would object to us removing data points from residents in the village. If the goal of this plan and the goal of the comprehensive plan and the goal of the citizens who take time to come and speak is to hear voices heard, it is not appropriate to ask to have those voices erased because they don't agree with what the voices said. So I think where that is in the plan is 100% appropriate, and it does state what the process was. There has been significant discussions. There's never been an official vote on a multi-use facility, but there has certainly been ongoing discussions. But to disqualify a large document that in no way endorses that because it has those words in it is short-sighted, to say the very least.
Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So Councilor Burkett, I also would disagree, though. We make ordinances and make amendments to those documents. And this plan would be no different than if an amendment was suggested and voted on, that language be altered. So I think that is a possibility that exists. So just don't, we can't take the document as whole if we have concerns. And if there are amendments, then we'll make them and then we'll see where council goes with it.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to defer resolution 24-57, adoption of Corrales Main Street Arts and Cultural District Cultural Economic Development Plan to January 28th. How do you vote, Councilor Miera?
Yes.
Councilor Wellman?
Aye.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Councilor Murray?
Aye.
Councilor Burkett?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. New business. Consideration action approval of resolution 24-80 authorizing assignment of authorized officers and agents for right-of-way use request to NMDOT for the pedestrian access route along Corrales Road. Now, we're hoping that this will actually happen.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution 2480.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second. With a
We have
question.
a second, and now we have a question.
Are you the authorized agent? Who are they really? I mean, we could assume that.
Me, him,
Great.
Just you two for now.
Just us two?
Yeah, or your successors.
Or
should
whoever
something
takes
happen,
our
yeah.
place? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay?
The reason I asked that is, because you have the attorney available to you at all times. Really like you said, we really like to see this happen.
You know,
All the support you can get.
I'm gonna
here
pop
for you.
that bubble. He is not available to me all the time.
Well, that would cost too much. That's right.
But, and I'm not quite sure that always it's good that I'm the signatory, but because I always have issues with DOT, sort of like the EPA, you know. Anyway,
Yeah, I
Mayor?
guess what I was really asking, just a little quick, how's it gonna go? What's gonna happen? What's the plan?
so right now we have sent them more information about properties that we own in Corrales Road and things that we've been trying to do with the help of a service contract from the Corrales Main Street organization to show them areas where could be parking, could be trails, and what we have done with regard to the old pedestrian access route that Jim worked on for so long. And they were supposed to get back to us in a couple of 3 weeks, weren't they?
Yeah, we haven't heard, I need to check in with Steve Grolman, but I don't think they've passed on or brought back the,
Steve Groman was going to send them what we had.
yeah. No, we've said that, but then they also have asked for a new letter addressed to the new district engineer. And then this document here with the signing
But
authorities.
she was right here.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Right.
but she asked for that at that meeting that we need
Okay.
that.
I got, okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Mayor,
Did we vote on this? Okay.
just a quick question. Was this one of the requirements at that meeting that we attended here that they wanted this? Okay.
Yeah, we never get out of a meeting with DOT without something more to do. Okay. Resolution 24-80 authorizing assignment. Councilor Murray, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilor Alsterbrook,
Aye.
Councilor Knight,
Aye.
Councilor,
Aye.
Councilwoman, Councilor Mira,
Yes, sir.
Councilor Burkett.
Aye.
All right. Now we're going to move on to a discussion of Salsy Park possibilities. Do you guys want to start or what do you want to do? You want to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilor Woolman, floor is yours.
Mayor, in a previous meeting, we put this on the agenda and I had discussion with one of my constituents who lives in the area and asked her if she'd be interested in pursuing this. She has. Liz Staley. I just wanted to make a brief statement before I turn the floor over to her if I could.
Sure.
She's on the list, but there's other people signed up to speak before her.
Yeah, this is not a presentation. This is going to be 3 minutes. Okay.
Yes.
Should we wait until we're ready to do the?
He's
Okay.
going to
Yeah,
make his comment.
be very
and
brief.
Then she'll talk.
In the short time since this is placed on the agenda, I think Liz and her committee have done an excellent job engaging the sentiment of the community and developing some possibilities of how the land could be used for quiet enjoyment. We often discuss quality of life for the village and what we can do to enhance it. We've built a library, a skate park, gymnasiums, swimming pool, pickleball courts, etc. But we still have only one park for the 8,500 residents, and only 3.9% live within a 10-mile walk of that park. We have preserved conservation land. In the end, we still have only one park and no designated open space on the west side of Loma Larga. In the last 2 years, we have purchased 3 properties, which at this point are being used for parking. We own Salsy Park. It was given to the village to be used as a park. A few years ago, we completed the bike trail, which now provides a 9-mile loop starting at Intel, along the Thompson fence line, down Sagebrush to Loma Larga and back to Intel. Salsy Park is about the halfway point and a natural stop for bicyclists and pedestrians. The most recent bond provided for farmland preservation and open space. Since we own the property, a small portion of the $2 million that was in that bond can be used to restore the park. A quote, Friends of Salsy Park, unquote, can be established with citizens contributing for maintenance. Not only is this a quality of life issue and economically feasible, it is also the right thing to do. So I turn it over to, I don't know who is the first one to speak, Melanie?
First on the list is John-Yves Bender. If you can state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
John-Yves Salsy Curtis Losack Bender, 251 Sagebrush Drive. My family did a lot of work to get sagebrush development installed, which included that acreage of the park. Part of it is now Salsi Basin, which I don't think my grandmother, who was instrumental in the watershed board, the Corrales Watershed Board, and eventually into SCAFCA, or my dad, who was SCAFCA oriented and the Sandoval County Flood Commissioner for years, would object to that use of that part.
It's the name of the area.
It was a flood zone.
Yeah.
No matter what we did, it was flooding. And it still floods. But a park that was set up with open space idea, I think would be an excellent plan for what's there. And I have been up there several times, not just because I live up there, it's kind of away from me. But there has to be a way for people that want to ride their horses, ride their bikes, walk their dogs, whatever, someplace up there for them. Because obviously Corrales Road is not the place to go, and that's where our park is. It's too congested. The roads are too narrow. And yes, Sagebrush Drive is narrow, but we now have a bike lane. None of us that live on Sagebrush knew that was coming. Surprise. Anyway, that road up that far, there's not a lot of traffic in terms of cars. So that would be an excellent use of open space. And I just heard somebody say there's money there that can take care of that. That would be awesome. But I know the family would love it. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Tara Trafton. Or is it Tara? Okay, Tara, if you could state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Tara Trafton. I own 5311 Corrales Road. And I am the great granddaughter of Dulcelina Salsi Curtis. First of all, I'd like to thank my cousin Johnny and Liz for the work that they did collecting signatures on a petition to represent the will of the village to preserve the space as a park. I'm not sure how many they gathered. I think we were somehow we missed kind of the notification. We didn't have as much time as maybe we would have liked, because I'm sure we could have gathered more signatures on that to protect the space for the community, and to really just demonstrate the overwhelming will to protect this space. Salsi Park was gifted to the village when Sagebrush subdivision was developed, with the understanding that it would be a public park and would add to the enjoyment of all Corraleños. I will point out that we're not making more land in Corrales, and property values historically increase. So should the village make the decision to sell the park, to get that amount of land back at a later date would not be cost effective. It would not be necessarily the best use of our resources, and it seems short-sighted. I sent you each an email last week noting that while our beautiful village has a lot to offer, there are still some amenities that could be added. I realize now that we actually do have pickleball, I guess, somewhere, but you know, there's still some other things that could be done. An open space would be delightful. That would require little cost, minimal maintenance, and water, could withstand an occasional flood, because as Jean-Yves said, that area is prone to flooding, and provide the village with additional benefits. I believe that keeping the park as a park also aligns well with what Chris presented earlier as the vision statement for the comprehensive plan. Chris said what we value here in the village is art, agriculture, art, and history. My great-grandmother, her Salsi siblings, and their descendants have contributed and continue to contribute to the vibrancy of the village. We helped found the Harvest Festival and have served on village council. You'll bump into us at the growers market, but not me, because I'm the worst farmer in the family. You know, we're your ballet and music teachers and your veterinarian in a lot of cases. So tonight we're continuing their tradition of activism and engagement and asking that you help us honor our ancestors' legacy. The neglect of the park has long been a source of sadness in our family, and I urge each of you to preserve this space for the public benefit and take the necessary steps to start using it as intended. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Staley, you'll come and state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. And thank you, Mayor and councilors, for opening up the dialogue on possibilities for Salsi Park. I'm Elizabeth Staley. I live at 627 Sagebrush, where I've lived for 33 years. And I'm speaking on behalf of the 123 villagers who signed the petition to urge you all to keep and renew Salsa Park. The park is located at the intersection of Sagebrush Drive and Calle Blanca on the west side of Corrales. The park was platted as open space in 1989 as a condition for the village government's approval of the Sagebrush subdivision. The 4 1-acre view lots that made up the park were provided by the Salsa Curtis family, and the park was named for Dulcelina Salsa Curtis, who has been honored as a notable New Mexican who was instrumental in setting up everything that makes the structure that makes Corrales Corrales. Everything from irrigation to flood control to education to the fire department and our beloved library. The 4-acre dedicated park was a key incentive for many, including my husband, Jim Belshaw, and I, to build our home on sagebrush as early settlers in the mostly empty slope from the Thompson fence line to Loma Larga before there even was a Loma Larga. It is important to note that Salsa Park was the only park west of Loma Larga in 1989, and it remains the only park west of Loma Larga for more than 30 years later. Salsa Park quickly became a gathering place for people who settled in the area. We met our neighbors as we walked and bicycled to the park, lingered to take into the far-reaching view of Corrales and beyond. As Arthur St. George, who could not be here tonight, wrote in his email that is in your packet, residents of Sagebrush have potluck dinners, picnics, and gatherings in Salsa Park, even as it transitioned into soccer fields. And after that, the Corrales Comprehensive Plan highlighted the need for Salsa Park to remain. The Salsa Park lost its 2 northern acres to the village's FEMA flood control project in 2018, but the neighbors did not complain. We understood that the flood project was necessary to abate the significant property damage in the upper slope area that was caused by the 100-year flood in 2013. Nevertheless, the neighborhood never has given up on the remediation. Was that me?
That was your time.
Yeah, I hope it wasn't. I mean, I hope it wasn't you. It was the alarm. It just says your time.
Well, I
is up.
didn't want to go over. Was that for me?
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
Mayor, is that okay if she finishes her statement?
You can finish your comments, yeah.
thank you so much. We've never given up on the remediation and recovery of the remaining 2 acres of the park, which are on the south side of Sagebrush, even after it became a staging area for the village's public works projects. We answered village surveys, talked to village officials, and have waited expectantly for the return of our beloved Salsa Park. We petitioners are urging the village to refurbish Salsa Park as a low-impact neighborhood park with native vegetation such as meadow grass and low water use plants and trees. As the illustration on page 19 of your packet shows, we are proposing pathways within the park with low-impact exercise stations, benches, a shade structure, and a labyrinth. We envision the park to once again be used by walkers and people seeking low-impact exercise experiences, as well as being a rest stop for bicyclists riding the Loop Trail and people who simply want to relax and enjoy the very best view in Corrales. Village Councilor Curry Administrator, I'm so sorry. Village Administrator Curry has announced several times that the village is looking for land in the village to purchase for open space. Salsa Park open space already is owned by the village. It sits in an area with great support from its neighbors, as the signature of the 123 villagers attest. And it's not only sagebrush area residents who support keeping and refurbishing the park. Many villagers who don't live in close proximity to Salsa Park signed the petition, as you can see, and they express their support of the refurbishing of the park as we are proposing. The Trust for Public Land report dated October 15th this year found that only 4% of Corralis's population is within a 10-minute walk to a public park. In its present condition, Salsa Park was not counted as a public park. In keeping and refurbishing the remaining 2 acres of Salsa Park will help have a significant impact on Corralis's rating and provide a park to serve all of the west side of the village, as well as the entirety of Corralis. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And the last speaker for this evening is Mr. Fred Hashimoto. You've already stated your name and address for the record, so go ahead. You'll have your 3 minutes.
Cool. Anyway, a very short message. I live east of La Entrada, miles from Salsa Park. I support the project. I don't see any cons against it. My question is, you know, we hear why Salsa Park should be left as a park, how it should be developed as a low impact open space, but who's the proponents for doing otherwise? We haven't heard that argument. You know, somebody must be proposing it, and why? How does it make sense? What are the pros and cons? How have they decided that Salsa Park should be denamed the park and otherwise? And so I'm just curious I haven't heard the alternative side. I support the positive side. I think it's a good idea, but I don't know why everybody has to defend it, because the other side hasn't really been overtly stated anyway. Thanks.
On that note, I do believe Lynn is on. He may have an update from the Parks and Rec Commission, who I do believe talked about this item at their most recent council or commission meeting.
So he's online?
He is still on the line. Lynn, do you have an update from Parks and Rec on this item? And you're muted. Lynn, are you there? We're close to Halloween. We can pretend it's a seance. Lynn, are you with us?
He's probably checking the candy. Okay. Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilors, I do support rehabilitating Salsa Park. I think it's been stated before, and I'm going to restate it again. It's open space. We've got it. Let's rehabilitate it and make use of it for the residents of this village. That's what we're here for, is to represent them. And I think it's a minimal cost. I don't think we have to put a lot of money into it, but it sounds like we've already got the well up there. All we have to do is recondition it and lay new lines. I think it can be done for a minimal cost. So I think it's a win-win.
So what's your definition of minimal cost?
Well, it's not a $4 million gym.
Well, that's a good point. We're not going to build anything there.
But I think
The thing about it is, you don't know until you ask.
Well, that's the reason why I want an on-call architect, because if we had an on-call architect, we could start planning.
I don't know that we need an architect.
You do, because you have construction drawings. You have to have construction drawings. You have to have an estimate of how much it's going to cost. And an architect or an on-call architect can have access to a landscaping architect who could give us a quote and find out how much it's going to cost. It's going to cost something.
Councilor Burkett has a question too.
Councilor Burkett.
Thank you, Mayor. I very much like the idea of keeping Salsa Park a park, and it's something that, on the council, we've been discussing for a while. And prior to that, on Parks and Rec, when I was on that commission, we discussed for a while. I would strongly urge that we consider, though, it was mentioned multiple times that it needs to be of use to all the residents of the village, and that includes kids. And it seems like we've already kind of come to a foregone conclusion that this is going to be a nature area for low impact exercise. And I would suggest that we look for more medium to high impact activities for kids, because we have very limited options right now. We have one playground in the village. I grew up in the town of Aztec. It's 25% less people. It has 4 parks. There are a lot more activities catered at young people in the village of Aztec than there is in Corrales, which has a median income about 3 times what Aztec does. So I would say that we do look at this, but we don't look at it through only one lens of a peaceful place to look at the mountains, that we actually turn it into a real park that kids can go to and play at and meet their friends and get outside and do something other than play video games, because there is nothing west of Loma Larga, as has been mentioned by speakers previously.
Yes, Councilor.
Mayor, if I may, the architect, the retired architect who did the drawings that are in the packet is here with us tonight. He may be able to give some insight as to cost and how we proceed.
So you would like for the administration to move forward on some kind of a plan to do this property?
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't know if you want to hear from Bill Perkins.
And Lynn is on, he's
Let's hear
unmuted.
from Lynn first. Lynn?
Okay, but what you guys, I guess, I mean, I said this over and over and over the years. The neighbors, you guys got to understand what the neighbors abutting the properties are trying to tell us. They don't want anything by them. So us, I mean, you guys are hearing people from other parts of the town saying that we should do, and I get that, but I mean, it's just the people that butt up to the properties are just do not want to see us do anything up there. And we met with them over several years. And I mean, this is going to be a hard project to do. I mean, what we did do with the flood irrigation or with the flooding, I mean, had to happen. But the property owners there don't really care to see people there. And they said that there's no police presence up there, and they don't. So if we're gonna bring people up there, they don't. But I mean, the other thing is the cost of this is, I guess, was brought up tonight.
So investigating the price and then presenting it to the neighborhood and the other neighbors it may cost money to get an estimate from a landscape architect, but it sounds like it's worthwhile doing. And whether it actually flies or not will depend upon what we come up with and what we hear down the road.
Well, yeah, but I mean, and then the cost for this is the other thing, because we bought these other properties that we want to do other projects with. It's going to cost it's going to be $50,000 just for me to do the work.
Yeah. So we'll
not for me to cost this out. So
then we'll develop a plan and we'll talk about it.
Okay, but no, I mean, but I want you guys to understand, we have Anderson, we have Gonzalez, and we have Salce. I mean, this is gonna be a lot of money for all.
I understand. I know.
Mayor.
I understand. Thank you, Lynn.
You bet.
You wanted to speak?
Mayor,
Councilwoman?
if I may.
Yes.
I understand this may be a burden for Parks and Recreation to administer. They administer a gym, a pool. If we need more personnel, perhaps we should take a look at that. But this is something that has been talked about for 30 years. Liz mentioned Art St. George, who lives at the park, and he's lived at that park for 30 years and now calls it a dumping ground. And calls it a dumping ground because it's used for,
asphalt, gravel. Yeah.
To be blunt, Parks and Recreation works for the administration and the council. Not independent. So I think it's important to take into consideration their position, but not be dominated by that position.
Okay.
So
Bill, did you want to make a comment? Could you come up here and make a quick comment? Can you keep it to 3 minutes or less, please? We've been here a long time.
Thank you, Mayor and councilors. Yes, a retired landscape architect, and I think I heard a number of things this evening, and I'd just like to put in a plug that a skilled, qualified landscape architect with a license to practice could be just the right person, I think, to assist the village at this juncture. And that landscape architect could be a subconsultant to the on-call architect that the village enlists. But charge that landscape architects with the task of not only coming up with a schematic design, but also an estimate of construction cost to implement that schematic design, and charge that landscape architect with the task of presenting their meeting with the neighbors, hearing input from the neighbors, concerns from the neighbors, and then a follow-up presentation of their schematic design to those neighbors. So there's an opportunity for the community right around the park to feel a part of that process. It's not, doesn't happen for free. It's not cheap. Good design takes time and effort, but limited to just that schematic design, estimate, and public input. And I think you'll have a valuable tool to go to the next stage or to stop and rethink.
Thank you.
Question?
Anybody have a question for Bill? Everybody knows Bill Perkins, right?
Yep.
John.
I just want, what Lynn had to say about the neighbors, since I first started on the council 16 years ago, and there have been waves of interest and I'm sure, Mayor, you remember many of these where we had Salsa Park come up and be discussed. And it was the neighbors around the park who were afraid of increased traffic, all the things that
all the usuals.
That's exactly right. And so I just want to make the point that Lynn's recollection on these are accurate.
Lynn's correct. There have been more people moving into the village. We may have had some change in our demographics. And we don't, and I hear every day from my wife that we don't have a park west of Loma Larga. And she's very convinced that we need to do that. Is she still on?
She was a few minutes ago.
Okay. So anyway, I mean, it's something that's been beat on me for at least the last, 6 or 8 months. So I think it's worthwhile. We can ask. It may cost us something. I don't know if we can use the bond money for that.
Well, open space. The bond money is for farmland
Purchase of
preservation. and
open space. We'll look into it. We'll ask. Counselor, excuse me,
No,
Fire Chief.
Debbie Denver.
Mr. Mayor, Counselor, I've also had interest in Salsa Park for the years. Counselor Alsterbrook, I think, had a site development plan already proposed for Salsa Park to put a water tank utilizing the existing well. We looked at trying to make a training ground for firefighters. That was definitely not an option amongst the neighbors. But I just wanted to reemphasize that if we're looking at this again, trying to consider, some water storage. And we really need to consider the water rights if we're gonna put a park on 2 acres. I was trying to do a real quick calculation, but it's gonna be a lot of water, so.
It's actually almost about 3 acres.
Okay.
And I think we're going to try to do something where that's a consideration is the water.
Yeah.
And try to keep it xeriscaped if we can.
I just wanted to just throw that out there that, there is some potential of public safety utilizing that well to try to provide to the citizens on I'm not talking about a big giant water tank, just something lower profile that we can have a place to where we can go and fill up tanker trucks for in the event of a fire. So.
Okay. Could we bury it part of it?
I'm sorry?
Could we bury part of it?
That was an alternative back when I think Council Alsterbrook, we're going back years.
Oh, it was a long time
We
ago.
wanted to
I remember
do.
Talking about this.
We wanted to do a partial bury. We got tanks donated from Intel. We contacted the manufacturer to see if we could lay those on its side so it
Right,
wouldn't be
right.
vertical. And they said absolutely not, it'll just catastrophically fail. So, but there are tanks that can be
Designed
either
to-
fully buried or partially buried to where you don't have a line of sight issue, but we have the adequate water storage to get credit for structure fire response. So, yeah. But thank you for the time.
Because it'll be a long time before we have a fire suppression line up there.
Yes, that's the other alternative. We have a water line at Loma Larga that we could go up or, well, we could talk about that later.
Okay.
Hydrants would be the preferred, but definitely
Sure.
water storage tank utilizing the well on site with enough water rights for fire suppression and irrigation. So thank you for
Yes,
the
sir,
time.
Councilor Murray.
I had a question for the fire chief. So if we got a tank submerged, could we use that as part of the berming of the park? Because one of the things that was proposed was a berm. So if the tank were semi submerged, could it be part of the berm as part of the design? I know.
As they've said, we've got the cart way before the horse.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Counselor, I'm sure that if we had it engineered and we were able to apply some sort of soil and fill around it, and as long as, we could walk on it and run and play on it, and it's not going to collapse, I'm sure it could be designed that way. Yeah.
Yes, sir, Councilor Mayor.
Is a motion in order now, so you can have something to work?
Well, it's really not up for, if you just give us direction, you say, we want you guys to come up with a plan.
Okay.
We'll try to work on a plan, try to find out where the money is, if we can use the bond money when it becomes available. And Councilor Murray.
Well, I was just going to say, I move that we direct the administration.
Not up for a motion or a vote.
Well,
You can just say, do it.
Motion to give you direction.
What did you say before? Get it done?
Yeah, but that was something else.
There you go. Get her done.
I do think
To get it done.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think Councilor Burkett had another comment.
Councilor Burkett, please speak up.
Just one brief thing. I think it's important also to keep in mind that we have a Parks and Rec Commission, and so we should probably involve them in this process early and often.
Yes, we'll talk to them. Okay. Are we finished?
Get her done.
Announcement.
Get her done.
Oh, we got, what?
Oh, what's on the agenda next?
Can you please come and speak in the microphone so people can hear you?
We can't hear you on the tape if you talk back there.
Regarding the issue of whether neighbors objected, you can see for yourselves from the petitions, we have signatures from the topmost house down through each part of Sagebrush, Olguin, in Cantata, the Del Sol subdivision, and on and on. There was not any groundswell of opposition from anybody we talked to.
Good. All right.
Thank
So
you.
we will certainly forward this to Parks and Rec when we come up with some ideas.
Oh, I'd love
And
to.
include them and also come back to the council and also perhaps even write about it somewhere.
We'd be happy to be involved in any way
Absolutely.
you lead it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Council, any other questions? Yeah, we're not going to do this. We're not going to keep taking comments from the audience. This is the last one. Melanie?
As a child of someone who is a pretty major park and recreation professional, I'll tell you that, as Bill can attest, Corrales is a park desert. Albuquerque takes great pride in all these little neighborhood parks. That's what we kind of envisioned Salsey Park as. Take a good look at South Boulder Rec in Boulder and the park course there that's been there since the 70s. You have a trail around it with stations for all ability levels. You look at Bill's plan. Like I said, we went out and walked the streets and got the neighbors to say, yeah, we'd like to see this. They're not wanting something with major traffic, but everyone on this council, with the exception of Mr. Burkett, represents west of Loma Larga. And we'd like to see some recreation designed for us, not just for the people that live in the core of the village. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. I think we've done the business of the village.
New business.
Oh, future.
Future business.
Okay. We're gonna do, we're hoping to have a presentation from the citizens group on a noise ordinance on November 12th at the next meeting. We have one meeting in November. And we'll have other things on the whiteboard, I'm sure. Does
Yes.
anybody have anything they want to see on the agenda? We anticipate this noise ordinance presentation is going to take a while.
Mayor, I had a couple questions from Dayton Voorhees on the Bicycle Advisory Commission. And I think they've got a couple good plans. I'd like to have Dayton come up and just kind of a brief presentation on what they were.
Okay.
One is adopt a pathway, I think was one. And I forget what the other one was right offhand, but I think they've got a couple of good ideas, and let's see what they came up with.
Would we want to do that in November? Well, we'll ask him.
Well, yeah, well, if he's ready, fine. If he's not, we can push it to December or January.
And this is the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No, I know Dave. No.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. Meeting's adjourned.